have had good chances in Group 1s, came up short in a couple of them by margins. And then Shaquille to win, doing what he did.
Shaquille muscling home, and he's clear by 2 lengths. The Royal Ascot winner doubles up in the July Cup.
Yeah, you're young riding a Group 1 winner, but to me it felt a lifetime.
When you're a couple of lengths clear around Catterick, Wolverhampton, you think this will look good in the mantelpiece. Now I'll get a bit lower.
This is going to go one way, we're going to stop here now, or we're going to go.
Rossa, great to have you here. You took a bit of convincing to get you on the podcast, but we got you.
I didn't have a choice.
Didn't have a choice. We got you on eventually. Let's start with, like everybody, with a brief overview of your career, which is over 500 winners, and more recently, your first Group 1 winner in the July Cup. But let's go back to the very, very start and how you got into racing, because as I understand it, your dad was a massive influence in getting you into the game.
Yeah, my father, he trained jumpers and got my uncle and my cousin into it. My uncle is a jump jockey in Australia and a bloodstock agent for David Hay, and my cousin Johnny is riding here at the minute, so it's kind of it was there, so I got the bug and took off from there.
It was bred into you.
It was bred into me.
And you started
no
out...
choice in the matter.
No choice, yeah. You started out on the pony racing sort of circuit in Ireland. Like, how important was that for your career?
I mean, funnily enough, I was talking to Pat Healy last night, and the pony racing scene there is dying away a small bit. They're not getting the funding they should, and it's worrying because, like, the amount of good riders that produced, like, it was, you take a kid from just a British racing school and then put him in a race, he gets lost. You take a kid from Ireland that was pony racing, you put him in a race, it's the same thing. He knows, just for him the courses are just bigger. It's like, I don't know, it's like getting a head start and everything. Thought you lost, it's great crack, and it probably doesn't get it does not by a mile get the recognition it should get.
Yeah, because it has produced champions in the past, hasn't it? And like you said, it gives you that unbelievable grounding. It's like playing for the under-18s before you go to the full squad, isn't it? You've been on the pitch, you've kicked the ball, you sort of know what it's like before you even get there.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, you could take it of recent years. Jack Kennedy, he dominated the pony racing circuit, and he's dominating the jump scene. You know, there's loads of them, and it's something that they're, to be fair to the people in it, they're trying their damnedest to hold on to it and keep it going, and they are. You know, Dingle looked a good success the other week, and I can guarantee you, I know right now some of the kids that are going really well at it, there's still another year or two to go, but like, come when it's time to get on the track, they'll know the score, you know. So it's definitely something that definitely in Ireland they shouldn't let die down.
Yeah. And then you made that transition from pony racing to almost immediately to Richard Hannon's, didn't you?
Yeah.
How old were you when you moved over?
I was 16 when I came, January 2017. A very good consigner of jumpers, John Bleehan, who'd be a very good family friend, was talking to Ross Doyle, and I actually went on trial with Richard Hughes. He brought me and Danny Sheehy out for a week, and obviously the July sale for the store horses had gone round, and John had told Ross Doyle about me, and Ross told Richard, and then Richard rang, and I came out for a trial in October 2016, and they really, to be honest, they want me to start there and then, but I had everything cleaned up. I'd say from there on to Christmas, I went into school about twice just to play football. And came over then. I think looking back on it now, in the day and age we're in, I know that was six and a half years ago, but I I think if I was only 16 now, my parents might question it a small bit, just because, you know, times are moving fast and whatnot. But I loved it. I mean, it got on great, and it was definitely a big step out of my comfort zone, but did me no harm.
Was it a big culture shock for you, because you're 16? One, you're pretty young. You're moving away from home, and two, you've gone from Ireland to the UK. So what was the change in culture like for you? One, there's no delis, which is
chicken fillet rolls.
There's no chicken fillet rolls, which I don't understand why they're not in the UK. But what other sort of culture shocks did you have?
To be honest with you now, Adam, it wasn't that much, because where we are in Galway, there's the couple of small trainers in Galway, and then everyone else, you know, they're 2 hours away. You know, I spent a good while in Willie Mullins's when I was a young lad, and then the Bulgers. But I'd be going down for at least a week or a month, you know. I would, because I wouldn't get the benefit out of it, you know, going down one day and come back.
Yeah.
And both my parents were working, so no one was there to take me down. And so I was kind of alright. I was alright for the first while when things were going great. I tell you, it was when things were going bad that I got a bit puzzled, but I was still young. I was just, you know, learning, and to grow up quick, but did me no harm.
Well, that's debatable. But then almost immediately you were thrown into a champion apprentice battle with Jason Watson, which went pretty close in the end. But you didn't come out on top on that one. Did that hurt a little bit? Was that difficult for you to accept? Because you're in that position where you might have won it, and you had an incredible season by anyone's standards, but to not get there, was that tough?
It was and it wasn't. I think we tied it up the first week of September for the 4th time, and at that stage, like, the 4th time we tied it up, I was 10 down on them before that, and you know, Jason had the right lads to ride for around the likes of Brighton and the Chepstows, whereas doing all the damage, you know, and you know, all the horses that were winning around there for me at the start, you know, were coming to their handicap mark, and I wasn't being able to get them over the line, and I just wasn't getting on the right spares. But like, in all saying that, like, I'd say, looking back on it, it was the best thing to ever happen to me, because Jason went on to get Roger Charlton's job. I didn't, and I had to go back to the beginning and build a foundation.
Regroup and...
Yeah, and I'd say for me in riding, it was the right thing. I'd say, you know, if you swap roles, and I had the Charlton job, that would have been a disaster. You know, I don't think I would have been ready. You know, it's one thing, it's easy ride winners as a claimer. I think it's when you come out of your claim, you have to figure out how you can get the bad horses to win, because that in itself is an art, because the good ones will take you there, the bad ones, you have to make them there, you know. And I suppose, like, looking back on it now, it worked the right way for me. I might have been a bit late maturing and everything like that, learning things, but I'm getting there. Slowly but surely.
Yeah, getting there, yeah. And then obviously that transition period from being an apprentice to a fully fledged professional, you've mentioned one of the challenges is trying to get bad horse to win. What other challenges did you find going through that sort of progression?
Oh, it was tough, because you have to look like one of the lads that are riding there 10 years out of their claim, and they're good and strong.
And you're still at a young age.
I was only 18.
Yeah.
And I think I rode 5 winners from January to May. First, you know, year out of my claim. I changed agents then to Steve Croft. And from May till, I think, the end of the championship, I rode 50 winners October. And things started to go well. But in all, like, and then I went away to Australia then for a little while, just to figure things out. And that went well. Came back and started again. And I spent the last 2 winters here. I suppose this winter was the best one. You know, it got me going. look, you live and you learn. Everyone makes mistakes, but I don't know. I see lads go, like the winter campaign, I know it can be boring and, you know, it's same horses, same day.
And it's cold.
Just a different track, yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of, like, you know, it's hard graft. But in saying that, like, it's still a time someone can get going. You know, Richard King scored 2 years ago. You know, Dan Muscat and me this year, and Kevin Stott, Dave Prover last year. But even for the lads that are champion apprentice and are second in it, you know, I don't believe they should go away. I do believe they should try and keep the ball rolling, keep hitting the winter hard, because I've seen a couple that have gone away, even if they weren't champion apprentice, and came back to nothing, and they have no claim. Do you know, the thing here is, like, you have to have a good foundation before you can think about going away, that when you come back, they're there to get you up and going again. And you take your foot off the pedal in England, you know, and show you're a bit lazy or not fully committed, it bites you in the long run. You know, you have to keep the head down and keep going and keep turning up.
Yeah.
Good, bad or indifferent.
And let's talk about then, we'll get to your July Cup. Because it sort of seems like, and I've heard a couple of people say this, it feels like, even though it's only been 2017, it feels like you've been at or around the top level for a long time. And even for me, and I know you as well as I know you, when it was mentioned on the racing channels that it was your first Group 1, I was like, was it? I'm sure you must have had one before now. But it was your first Group 1. And like I say, you've been in that level for so long. So what was that feeling when you come up to that line or you cross that line? What's the emotion that hit you at that time?
Jeez, you put me on the spot now, because it's awful hard to describe. There was a lot of relief. I just thought it was a burden. You know, have had good chances in Group 1s the last 2 or 3 years. Came up short in a couple of them by margins, and that was gutting. And then Shaquille to win, doing what he did, I think it was a bit surreal, because what he did mid-race, you know, I'd say 99 out of 100 horses wouldn't do, you know.
So can you talk to us a little bit about what he did mid-race? For people who mightn't have seen it, who haven't watched it, can you explain what happened?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't jump. He jumped quicker probably than he jumped in the Commonwealth with O'Sheen. And we didn't go mad, and I ended up getting onto the heels of them quicker than I probably wanted without doing anything, you know. And I suppose in the Commonwealth with O'Sheen, he got onto the heels with them, but they were going a right gallop, you know, so he was able to hang on to him. But the day I rode him, they weren't. And I got within, I'd say, a length of Kinross, and I started to see heels coming, and I was like, I can't keep hold of this lad. To be fair to James Doyle, he told me going out, he said, just go with him. He said, wherever you are, just go with him. I said, all right. So when I did pull him out, I just had to go with him. I just sat again him. And to be fair to him, once he put his head in front of Timmy's horse, you know, I could feel him fill his lungs on me. And I thought, right, this is going to go one way. We're going to stop here now, or we're going to go. And 2 out, he came right in underneath me, and I was ready to go, and he picked up, and I could see someone coming in the corner of my eye. I think it was Trevor Whelan. I thought, oh no, not again, just get to the line. And he got there then, and it was something, definitely something you get up every day just to try and get a chance at again. Yeah. You know, it's.
But that decision, when you talked about when you were coming on heels and you realised he's not stopping, which isn't a nice feeling, whether it's a Group 1 or a Class 6.
Yeah.
But then to have what I felt like was the maturity to make the decision to go, I'm just going to have to let him out. Was that a conscious decision, or did you get ran away with? Because there's two ways of looking at it.
I got clean ran away with it.
But
I'll be honest
time,
with you. Well, it was like this: either try and hang on to him and probably come down, or just pull him out and just go with him. I just thought when I had to pull him out again, oh, this is another Group 1 disaster. you know, nothing is falling right for me in these big races. But to be fair to him, he's got his way of running. And I seen a video there the other day of him jumping out of stalls with James Doyle, which I'd imagine he'll get back on him. You know, Martin Hughes very loyal owner, and you know, James done all the groundwork with him. But you know, he did it the day I was called on, and you know,
That's all
there's
that matters.
there's two ways of looking at it. Like, you can be gutted at losing the ride in him, but in all fairness, it wasn't my ride at the start, and you know, I got my chance. I grabbed the bull by the horns, and I won, and he did the job when I asked him to, and that was the main thing.
Let's talk again about that relief feeling, because obviously you've gone through years of your career, near misses, and there's people at home that might never get that sort of opportunity to like score a goal at Anfield, ride a Group 1 winner. That relief feeling, how deep was that feeling, and why was it relief? Was it because of all the near misses, the hardship, the early mornings, or what was it?
I'd say all of the above. I think it's more, you know, when you start riding, you don't start to say, oh, I'll win a couple of handicaps, and you know, you start riding because you want to be champion jockey, and you want to ride in top meetings, top Group 1s. You want to win them all, and you know, like someone as like good a rider as Rab Ablin, he rode his first Group 1 winner last year. You know, so yeah, I'm still fairly young, and you know, to most people it'd be, yeah, you're young riding a Group 1 winner, but to me it felt a lifetime, because I've been at it since I was 12, riding pony races. You know, it's still 10, 11 years building up to try and get something like that, you know.
Yeah. And was it all worth it then? For that 10 seconds after the line?
Yeah.
You do it all again?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was a lot of struggles, you know, weight-wise. In this game, it beat you down, you know, social media-wise, and abuse and all that. I think we could have gone so far as if we crashed the car on the way home, I wouldn't have cared less. You know, if everyone got out all right, I wouldn't have given an absolute damn. Nothing could go wrong that day.
Yeah.
Whatever happened that night, I didn't care. I was satisfied.
That's good. Let's talk a little bit more about horsemanship, because we mentioned getting ran away with on Shaquille, but I've always thought when I watch you that you have a pretty good pair of hands and generally can get a horse to relax. You've got a very straight back as well, which is, I don't know how you do it. Have you been practicing like how straight you can get your back? Because I can pick you out in a race immediately because you're just the straightest backed one in the race.
No, I do have a pretty arched back.
Yeah. Is that deliberate, like, or is that just?
No.
I reckon
When I was growing up, I'd say I'd have to spend between half an hour and an hour 5 days a week on the simulator when I was a young lad with Dad. And he always said, you have to, once you have a straight back and your heels down and your knees bent, you're grand.
So you have practiced it?
Yeah, when I was a young lad.
Yeah.
But, you know, you don't want to look like a flop when you get pictures through, do you?
So it's all about the pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
Social media.
Exactly. I mean, you know, I think that probably was the one thing when I started, you know, compared to probably some of the apprentices starting up, you know, I knew me length of riding, you know, as how short and how long, and I could, you know, I knew how to push one, and you need something like that. That alone is a head start, because that catches the eye of a trainer. Catching the eye of a trainer gets a ride. Yeah. And you never know from there on in, you know.
Talking about pictures, I want to ask you this, because I've done this loads of times when I was riding. Have you ever, do you know, when you've been a couple of lengths clear, you're aware obviously that at every finish line there's a photographer there to take a picture of the horse. Have you ever, when you come up and you know you're clear, deliberately put more of a posy on, make yourself look a bit tidier for the picture?
No.
Yes, you have.
I haven't.
That's a lie.
I haven't.
Because everyone does.
There is a photo of me on Shaquille, and all of a sudden my tongue is out. And I'm like, how did that even happen?
That wasn't deliberate. That was deliberate.
That wasn't deliberate.
Yes, it was.
I swear to God.
This is from the same guy who 5 minutes later did a whole Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, yeah, I wanted to do.
photographer.
I said if that happened, I'd do that, and I'll do it again if it happens again. I'll do it again.
You've definitely deliberately put a posse on for a photographer. You can't tell me how, because everyone does. When you're a couple of lengths clear around Catterick, Wolverhampton, you think this will look good in the mantelpiece. Now I'll get a bit lower.
Well, Catterick and Wolverhampton on the mantelpiece.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Instagram, whatever. You've definitely done.
What was it? Nice to nick a winner here in Catterick today.
Just got to think with a caption now.
Who will I tag in this?
Who's going to like this? Let's get away from the pictures. Back to horsemanship, because we got derailed there. Your hands and settling horses. Can you explain to people at home who've maybe never ridden a horse, certainly never ridden a racehorse, you're on a half-ton animal and they've got a lot of energy and they want to just go flat out, the majority of them. How do you, as a 9-stone lad, sit on that and get it to... What are you doing with your hands to get it to relax?
Nothing.
Explain nothing.
Well, growing up, we broke a lot of store horses, and I can firmly say breaking store horses is a lot harder than breaking yearlings because they're more mature, and if they want to have a go at you and you're on board, well, you better buckle up, you know.
Yeah.
But the good thing about breaking horses, you had to get in their heads. You had to learn about the horse. You know, there's a couple of times there at home we got sent horses that had to be lunged off the truck, hunted into a stable. It'd take us 2 days to catch them in the stable alone. So that was the great thing about Dad. Dad was always a great horseman. He always had a way to get inside a horse's head. You know, there was a lot of horses we'd got from trainers as well, and they were, you know, piggy and whatnot, and he got inside their head. So that was one thing Dad taught me. He always said, if you're getting ran away with, just go with him. Don't panic. He said, if you panic, they're going to panic. He said, if you know where the end of the gallop is, he said, there's no point you 3 furlongs from the end trying to pull it up, because you're not going to pull it up. He said, let it off. And he said, probably send it harder. He said, and by the time you're getting near the end, then you've all your energy conserved. Get him back. You'll get him then. So, you know, flat horses are a lot different to jumpers, because jumpers, you know, they're bigger, they're slower, and, you know, they're trained to go over longer distances, so they're trained to really relax, whereas flat horses are a bit buzzy and in your hands. But I always admire Ryan on Ballydial's horses, because if you watch them, they all trot off and he gets them to tuck their head in, and they literally, you can feel them that they drop. They literally, they're engaged on the bit, and you can feel them when you're trotting away. Then just drop it and like release the bit in your hands, and then you can hack away, and they're relaxed and they're breathing. And
but for people who don't understand like that terminology of what a bit is or what a flat horse or jump horse is, you give it like the most basic rundown you can of someone's watching you on TV and they're seeing you canter to the start or the middle of a race. What do you do? Why are your hands where they are, and what are you doing with them?
Well, if you take, like, the bit is what goes through their mouth, and, you know,
That's your
the
contact
most
point.
the most time a horse might be tense is when they're in the paddock and you get up on them, because, well, the crowd in the paddock, they're getting revved off that alone, and you need to get on them as subtly and as calm as possible. And as alluded to with Ryan, he gets them all to trot away, and the horse has gone from being a bit buzzy and jumping to, no, hang on, wait a minute, and he might have to regather him and make him trot, and he could trot a furlong until he takes off. But it just gets the horse to say, hang on, now I'm in charge. No, I'm not fighting you, but I'm in charge. And then the horse calms down into his zone and relaxed. You know, you need to conserve as much energy as you can to the start to have more coming back. I suppose a race is different because it's a standing start. But 9 times out of 10, you know, I've always alluded to Alan Kings because I love riding them. In Alan's, he's got a big hill gallop, and you go up a hill for a furlong, and then it comes down a hill and goes back up a hill, and they jump off and they roll away to the top of the first hill, and then they slow up coming down the hill. And Alan's, he jump out, and Alan's, I just let them roll for a furlong, let them go, let them, where they jump, I just leave them alone. And then after about a furlong, when they've rightly got up into their stride and they're relaxing, you can get them back and they come back. But if I jump out on Alan's and I go whoa straight away, it's just a tug of war all the way from there.
It's all about not having any tension.
It's all about getting in a horse's head as best you can. Do you know, it's not as easy as some of the lads make it look, but I suppose the more you get to know the horse, the more you can learn off the horse and understand the horse, the better chance you have. And I suppose riding out, you know, teaches you a bit of that, you know. The more understanding you have, the better you're going to get on with him, him or her. And it counts for a lot.
Yeah. Let's get away from racing now for a bit, and we might come back to it a little bit later on. What's Rossa Ryan doing on a day off? What do you do outside of racing?
Golf.
Golf.
Yeah.
You any good? Like,
No.
or is it no?
Terrible. But the lad that drives me, Kieran, I've always kind of knocked about with the lads, but nothing serious. The lad that
I find that hard to believe that it was nothing serious.
It was
I know how
never. It
competitive you
wasn't.
are.
I know, but I was always terrible anyways. But I was lucky enough to be in the. I'm in the right state, the right financial way to have a driver this year. And I took on Kieran Jones, who used to ride, and he plays a lot of golf, and he loves driving because he plays golf whenever he wants, really. So it works hand in hand, but he's kind of really got me hooked onto it. And yeah, enjoy that.
And you've been getting lessons and everything, haven't you?
Yeah, I've started.
Taking
Yeah,
it like properly
serious now, yeah.
So you're gonna be like Tiger Woods next, or
No, if I can get around without losing a ball, that's a good day.
what about other sports, football?
Yeah, I follow the GA at home, GA.
That's Gaelic football for people who've never heard of GA. Yeah.
Sure, everyone should know by now. Hurling and Gaelic football. Big Gaelic football fan crowd in my family, like. And
Were you any good at it when you were?
I did alright, yeah. Won a couple of county titles.
Sure, but everyone says that, you see. The problem with everyone in Ireland is everybody's won a county title for the junior Bs. I don't know if that really.
Not junior B. So I left so young. And I played for Galway once. That was enough for me.
You take that, yeah. You got the
I
picture.
got the jersey.
Yeah, you got the jersey, the picture. Yeah.
I could have gone all the way. I love the Gaelic football. I got into football out here, soccer, watching it, because my old job at Amor Racing. So follow that, and then follow Ireland and Connacht and the rugby. Follow everything really.
Yeah.
Bit of F1.
Talking about soccer, I had a tough one last night when I stepped up to take a penalty.
Jesus Christ.
And who was in goal? Only Rossa Ryan. And I was convinced I was going hard and low, bottom right corner, and I somehow sent it straight at you. I don't think it was
It was Matt Ronaldo first.
I don't think.
Versus Van der Sar.
Yeah, I don't think it was a pretty good save. I think I sent it straight at you. But I'm never going to hear the end of that now.
I never seen a man so gutted.
I was genuinely upset, but I knew there was cameras there, so I was trying not to
The
cry.
best thing was, he went to take the first time, and I think he knew he'd score, and then...
Yeah, well,
and then she stopped you because someone kicked the ball out in front. Yeah.
Which is bad sportsmanship. The other team kicked the ball at me, so that first one was going in. If I didn't have to retake it, I'd have been all right. But that one's going to hurt for a long time. And I don't even know how you ended up in goals, because you're not a goalie, are you? So
It's everywhere.
Everywhere, man of many talents.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah. How often do you go to the pub?
Me? No, you'd spill more in your shirt than I drink.
What?
You'd spill more in your shirt than I drink.
I've never heard that one before. You'd spill more on your shirt than you drink.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Just not a big drinker. I mean,
You never have been though, have you?
No, I didn't start. It's all against drinking. I went to Oz and started there. But that was when I was 21. So I'd say I learned to have fun before I know I would have the crack in a nightclub with people drunk before I had a drink. I mean, I like having a drink when I'm off. You know, I'd take a break during the winter. But I still wouldn't be... we're going out, or I don't want to, like...
Is it a social thing?
Yeah, I'm not, I wouldn't be, I'll have 2 or 3 beers there and I get home just because I like the taste of it. I'd say, I had a drink about 2 weeks ago. I'd say that was the first time in 2 or 3 months. And it wasn't even, it was 1 pint and I just said, that's enough now.
What do you drink when you're drinking? What's your go-to? Magners. Cider, man.
Cider, vodka.
So you're basically just drinking fizzy apple juice.
I like a cocktail. That'll do me, keep me light.
So just so we have this on the record, cocktails, cider, and vodka what?
Vodka cranberry.
Vodka cranberry.
And sweet. I love
sweet,
an awful
fizzy
sweet
drinks, basically. So you may as well just have 7-Up, really.
Yeah, that's me.
Have you ever tried like a real drink, like a Guinness or a proper pint?
Oh yeah.
And you don't like it?
Oh, Grandad at home is best pub in Connacht for pints of Guinness.
And what does he say to you when you walk into his pub and say, "Can I have a vodka cranberry?"
I always go home. I always go home and have one, just to keep him happy, and then I'm alright.
But you don't actually like it.
Well,
Guinness, we're talking about here.
I could. I've always said I could develop a taste for it, but I mean, it's just muck out here, isn't it?
It's not great, no, but it's
terrible.
It's still better than.
It's awful, horrendous.
Yeah, I'd still argue it's better than.
Last time I went home, it's like drinking cream. It's lovely.
Beautiful, yeah.
And I could develop a taste for it, but I'm not there enough to develop a taste for it, so it might be a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And then beer. I started off on beer, then moved to cider.
But what beer were you drinking? Because obviously it wasn't the right one.
Anthony Gemi, because it was during COVID.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was that was going.
Yeah.
And then moved to cider. I started actually on cider, vodka and cider. Got very sick. Didn't have cider for 2 years. And then went back on it. Got sick of beer. I just found beer. I don't know, there was an awful twang off it.
Twang.
Yeah, do you know, like, it tastes like lead in the back of your throat. I don't know, Coors Light is the main one I don't like. I'd have a Budweiser or Corona or Peroni or whatever if it's there and I've nothing to drink and I want to drink. But jeez, Coors Light's rotten.
I think when this goes out, I'm gonna
get some abuse.
You're gonna some abuse. I think you're gonna regret saying some of the stuff you're saying.
It's
right
like getting beat on the favourite in a group too.
And
group
God
one.
forbid your poor granddad listens to it.
No, my granddad, he's too deaf to listen.
Well, I'm gonna send it to him, just so he knows. Next time you walk into his pub,
no, he's alright. He's alright because my uncle is a cider man, so he's alright. He's got over it, and he's the golden child, so he's over it.
He's over it.
Yeah.
But it must have hurt him like originally.
No, he's not a Guinness man. He's a Heineken man. So
this is all shocking information.
Oh, my old lad is a Guinness man.
Are they just weird people in Galway? Is that?
No. Oh, my old lad's a good Guinness drinker.
Yeah. Right. Let's get away from beer for a little bit. I think we've talked enough about beer. Let's talk a bit about sacrifices that you've had to make, because being a jockey is sort of all-consuming, takes over your whole life. I think you're probably, like most jockeys, obsessed with racing. It's an obsession. It's kind of a 24/7 thing in your head. Would you say that's accurate? No. I love it. Don't get me wrong. When it's going well, it's great. It's a great game. And it would hurt, but I wouldn't. I'd probably get over it quick to walk away from the game if I had to. Something like career-ending injury, God forbid. Touch wood, it doesn't happen. But you know, you want to be real about the game. It's horses running around the field, isn't it? I mean, that's all it is. Was that how you really feel about it?
No, it's not how I feel about it. But if you want to strip it back to its core, that's what it is. And there is more to life than racing. And I think going to Oz taught me that, because that's when I really got out of my circle. I was with, look, my two uncles are in racing out there, but they were the only two I knew. Everyone else I met, yeah, I was riding out in places, but anyone I met, they weren't from racing. They were just there doing country work or, you know, backpackers. They really didn't care. And it kind of shined a light that, you know, people love racing, love going racing, love everything about dogs. So they should, because they're unbelievable creatures. But for people that are in the industry, or well, jockeys mainly, because we're so, I think, like, you know, it was until I got the ammo job and Kia made me take a break that I realised I actually need this while off to refresh and go again. So I took a month off the 2 years I was with ammo in the winter time, and last year I did the same, and I came back in January raring to go, and it's kind of gone well as well. And you know, now we're starting to get into the real heart. You know, we're going through the halfway stage. From here on out, after York, it's a right grind between riding out, sweating and racing. It's going to be hard work, and then you're ran down to nothing. But so far so good. Like, I love racing more than anything, but I wouldn't be feared of trying something else if I had to give it up tomorrow.
But in terms of sacrifices over the years, I always felt like when I was riding, I missed out on family events, friends' birthdays, because, you know, you'd like the next day, you're racing the next day, or you're racing that evening. Have you missed out on lots of stuff?
Yeah.
Have you sacrificed a lot?
Oh, massively. I didn't get to bury my best friend. So I didn't. I lost him in 2016, July 28, 2016. God rest his soul. He was one that grew up with me from, like, when we were in nursery, really. And he'd only just done the junior cert, which is the English equivalent GCSEs. And he'd already got a scholarship to Harvard for science. He was a genius and a great Gaelic footballer. And never forget him. And, you know, him and two other friends went out to Germany, and he had a broken nose, and current swept him under. And out in Germany, they didn't really know English. They couldn't get the lifeguards on time. And he sacrificed his life for actually the two lads to not have to sacrifice theirs, because the following day they were meant to go shopping in Berlin to this big supermarket, and there was the bombing that day. So instead of losing three, we lost one. But when we go home every Christmas, we go see the parents, and that was hard. And the same with my granny. I lost her in 2018. I couldn't go to the burial. I got to go home for one day and see her. And that broke me, really. That was hard going, because we were very close. And, you know, everything else is irrelevant, what you miss. You know, it's the missing events like birthdays and that. You know, they're all irrelevant. You know, birthdays come around and whatnot. But, you know, at the time, with my good friend, I was an apprentice going for the title, and I couldn't take my foot off the pedal. And my mum sent me on all the videos of the ceremony they had and all that. And it's probably the one regret. Like, my granny, bless her, she had Alzheimer's. I was one of the one that she did remember. She only remembered 1 or 2 of us. And I wanted to come home. I know I wanted to get off my rides to come home. And Dad said no before she passed, because he said you'll just remember in a bad way, because she won't. He said, I'd be quite honest, he said, I don't think she'll remember you. And that was a big call and a good call from my father, because I'll always have just good memories of her, you know. And I think I got to bury her. I think I missed the first day because it's a 3-day ceremony. I missed the wake at home. But definitely the one regret would be I didn't get to bury my friend Jack. He was a good kid from a good family, and you know, growing up we looked the same, which was weird. I think it was as we were going into secondary school and growing older we looked different, but my dad and his dad got on very well, and there was me and 3 others, and we were all football heads. We were all on the same team. We all grew up together. My dad used to pick us all up for training, going on whatever days we were training, and we all came along together. And that kind of, I think for the whole parish, I remember, you know, that broke a lot of souls that weekend. And I think that'd be, if I could go back in time, that'd definitely be one thing I'd go back to do, just bury him.
And obviously still bears on you now. You still think about it. You had to make that sacrifice in the pursuit of a career. It's a massive sacrifice to make.
Yeah, absolutely. But he was a big sportsman. He loved his NFL. He loved everything, really. Anything to do with sports, he loved it. And when you go home, his father tells us all the stories. And you know, he went to his first Premier League game 2 months before he passed, and his father didn't realise. You know, he organised it all. He was only 15, because he died 4 days after he turned 16. And his father always tells the story of when he took him. I can't remember what club he went to. And you know, he didn't realise that would be his last game, or his first and his last game, but it just kind of takes into account you got to enjoy every day, do you know what I mean? And he, I think for me, I'd love to have been there, but for him, I think he'd have been looking down thinking, got to get on with it. You know, he always was the one on the team picking lads up and, you know, driving everyone on. And always, you know, he wasn't, at the start when we were real young fellas, like, you know, under-8, he wasn't great. He trained harder than any of us. And, you know, by under-14s, he was, you know, running the show. And if his man was beating him, you know, he got taken off him, but because they put him on a weaker man to run the show, you know what I mean? He was a good kid, and yeah, it comes back around every 28th of July. I try and send a text message to the parents, you know, to know we're thinking about him. But he was a great kid.
You think he'd have understood why you weren't there? Yeah,
and I think he would have wanted me not to be there and go and get. He always wanted to see. He was never a jealous person, ever. He always wanted to see everyone do well. Always. Don't know what it was. Because he always did well, you know, with the books, and always did well, you know, playing football. But, and, you know, always, you know, because we were only pony racing at the time, was always seeing we were doing well, always send a text in, we're flying, keep it going, you know. I think now, I'd love to have met him now. If he was still around, I think he'd be genius. He's a good lad.
I think before I let you go, I usually ask the same 2 questions to everyone, and the first one is, if you go back in time, what's one thing you'd change? But I think you've covered that, really, if you could go back in time.
I'll tell you, the strangest thing was, you know, and it was, I think that was the most devastating part of it. We were in the county semi-final in Gaelic football, and we'd beaten these lads in the league by a point to win the league. They got a late point in the last 30 seconds and they bet us by a point. That's why he went to Germany. And our season was over. And you're just thinking back, you know, if they drew with us or they didn't get that last score, might have been a goal in the last minute, not sure. What could have been, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, that's just how life goes, I suppose, doesn't it? You know, the good ones always get taken first.
I'm going to ask you one last question before I let you go. If you could give a piece of advice to your younger self, little Rossa Ryan, if you met him now and you could give him one piece of advice, what would you tell him?
Everything's not about racing. You have to enjoy life, I think. I mean, missed out in university, which I didn't like school anyways, but the crack with that. But I suppose racing brings out a different bit of crack, you know. You probably get to do it more extensive around the world. I'm very hard on myself in every which way. And I'm trying to not be as hard as on myself. Probably stay away from women till you're 21 at least.
I think that's a sound bit of
because
advice.
you can't live with them and you can't live without them.
Yeah.
But no, my girlfriend Claire puts up with a lot from me.
Yeah, she does.
You know that. And
Shout out to Claire if you're
yeah,
watching.
shout out to you. We're lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is hard, this game with a woman on your side. You know, they have to have a temperament of God, because it's hard work. But we get by anyways.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
That's the main thing. Rossa, it's been great having you on. Thanks a million for coming on, and we'll be watching you with interest and cheering you on for the next few months and couple of years.
Thanks for having me.